Welcome to Strange Paradigms. In this weekly show, we'll be taking a look into the news and headlines to pick out curious reports of the strange, weird, and mysterious. Anything from UFO news to science advancements, the paranormal, and stuff labeled fringe science and fringe phenomena. The topics we cover are fascinating, while some are unnerving and others disturbing, but definitely show we live in a strange world full of strange mysteries. The idea is for you, the viewers, to be able to offer your thoughts and input on the stories we cover in the live chat. Each news item we go over in the show, I will put all the links to them in the description box below once this live show is over, as well as chapters on the timeline index. Welcome to all my first time viewers and listeners. I hope you find this show informative and that you'll subscribe to this channel and check out my other shows and content. Please make sure to share this video with anyone or groups or forums for those who you think will be interested. The growth of this channel has a lot to do with you, my wonderful viewers and listeners. I would love to say hello to all of the viewers in the live chat. I know we have a new member here. Linda, welcome to the channel watching this live. Hi, Jessica. Brown Dwarf, so good to see you. Robert, Steppenwolf, Tyler, Janet. Another new member we got going here from all the way from Mexico. Hello, how's it going? Skyhawk hides. I am so happy all of you could make it. Hey, Greg. Because there's a lot to cover today, but there's a few things that I do want to mention before we get started. Oh, John aside, I'm so happy you're listening in, and I want to say thank you so much and so many of my other moderators for taking care of the live chat. I really, really do appreciate it. So you guys are the absolute best mods. John aside, Jessica, Zenza, everyone, thank you so much. So, first thing I want to mention before we get started, I am now doing 4 shows a week on this channel instead of 3, and the new one is called The Unknown Zone. And the debut premiere will be on Monday at 10 a.m. PST, and that's where I take a deep dive into the mystery of the Piri Reis map, Antarctica, and hints of an advanced civilization. This video format for this new show, it's only about 8 to 10 minutes long. It's full of B-roll, full of narration, and it's nice and catchy for those just getting into topic. So I'm really excited for this debut. The trailer is already up on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it, because now we're going to be posting this every single Monday, a different topic, but the same kind of format. On Tuesday, Dr. Diana Pasulka will be my guest on Shifting the Paradigm. You do not want to miss that. It was a fascinating conversation. On Thursday, Mysteries of Egypt will be the focus of Mysteries with the History. And of course, Jimmy Church, who just arrived back from Egypt, will be my co-host. I'm so excited to hear his stories and to have him back on as my co-host, because how can we not talk about Egypt when he spent 2 weeks there? It's going to be a really awesome show. Finally, if you haven't joined already, the Discord server has surpassed 1,000 members for after show chat, UFO chat, paranormal chat, and a bunch of other rooms. There's always people on the server 24/7 from around the world. It's friendly, it's safe, it's secure, it's free, okay? And you can chat with me there also, and many other like-minded individuals. They're posting pictures, videos, their own experiences, as well as asking questions. So there's a lot of great discussion. It's practically live. People respond to you pretty quickly. And so I will place the link to the server in the live chat now. Doing that right now. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so that's kind of it for my news to set up for today's show, which is Strange Weekly News that we do every Friday live at 3 p.m. PST. So let's go and get started. I'm going to share my screen here to give you just a visual while I read these pretty awesome articles. Okay, got the picture pulled up. Oh no, I just closed it. I meant to hide it, but I accidentally closed this. Let me just do that one more time. Sharing an image just for visual effect. And let's get into this. So, a man who wishes to remain anonymous, understandable, gives the bizarre occurrence on Reddit, Ireland, of an incident that happened on Monday, October 10th. And he stated it was the strangest experience he's ever had, hands down. What am I talking about? He had a UFO sighting. And even to this day in 2022, some people want to remain anonymous. I understand that. I respect that. And but at the same time, it is rather difficult when someone remains anonymous if their story is true or not. But let's continue with this article and then you can decide on what you think about his encounter, if you believe it is true or not. But when I did a poll 2 weeks ago on articles that you wanted to hear more of, it's everyone wanted more UFO articles and sightings and stories, and I am packing them up for you this week. So we're going to start off with the UFO sighting. So here it goes. He claimed that he saw kind of like so he claimed he heard what sounded like a low flying helicopter, and it was just right outside of his place. And he said that while he could kind of hear it, in a sense, it kind of appeared invisible. He said it had no lights, it had no shape or outline. But then he said it in, in his post. I don't know how you describe something to be invisible, but that's exactly what it was like. He could kind of just slightly hear it. He could just not even see an outline, but yet he knew something was there. And he had stated that in the area that he lives in Ireland, he's constantly getting like Coast Guard helicopters approaching in this area. And so he has an understanding, obviously, of what to possibly compare his sighting to. But in this case, like he said, it was the strangest experience he's ever had, hands down. And he writes, just thinking about it, I came out of the garage and to look like any man child would to see what that sound was. And that comment, it really made me laugh. It goes to show that this person has a sense of humor, but at the same time, those choice of words makes you question, is he trying to make a serious conversation lighthearted, or is he just a prankster altogether? That's kind of where it's a bit difficult, but regardless, calling himself a man child is pretty comical. But then it continues. Bear in mind, it's not the darkest of nights, as it's a full moon and no clouds. Whatever it was, still sounding like a low flying helicopter, came directly over me in a linear fashion heading north. The strange part? I can't identify something that appears invisible. And I think that's a big a key point that I think is interesting to attempt to describe something that's invisible, where again, he wasn't even able to see the outline. But he continues, I hope people don't think I'm BSing this story because I posted this on Reddit and I truly want answers. I'm not saying it's aliens, I'm not saying anything like that. I just want answers to what I saw. And I think having that kind of approach versus flat out saying, oh, it's aliens, it adds a little bit, slightly more credibility to the story that all he's looking for are the answers to his questions. And so it says, does anybody have an explanation for this? Did anyone even see the same thing in my area? And dozens of people actually commented on this Reddit thread, stating that they experienced the exact same thing. I think when you have a sighting, you post it online, regardless on if it's a UFO sighting or something paranormal or something just strange. We're so lucky to live in this day and age that we're able to get immediate answers, sometimes even results. And in this case, I think that for him, if this sighting was true, because it's merely an alleged account, but I feel like it would give him a sense of relief that, like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. Okay, I feel a little bit better that other people have seen the same thing. They can relate with me. And if I were to tell my story to them specifically, they would believe me versus keeping a story or a sighting to yourself for your entire life, never spilling out your secrets to anyone or any group or any community that you know that supports you. It can kind of eat you up alive as you go on with your years of living. And I think this is one reason, this is just one of many reasons to why I opened my Discord server and made it available to the public for anyone to join, because I want them to have a community where they can come to feel safe and to share their stories and experiences. And maybe there's someone else that's had a very similar experience to you, for instance. So I really truly do recommend the Discord server because you get so many other like-minded people. What what else he states in this, and what some other people commented in this thread before we continue. One person stated that I actually saw the exact same thing that you described, but 10 years ago. Only difference was the power went out for a few minutes afterward as well. Someone else stated that a town about 15 kilometers away from this man that wants to remain anonymous stated, I actually saw the exact same thing you saw, but 10 days ago and about at 2 a.m. or so. So it's these are very interesting comments, and that's only two out of many that I came across. But again, because this person felt safe in this Reddit Ireland community, he was able to share his story and hopefully having other people that could relate to him. David said, I tried to join, my debit card got hacked and I lost $50. Probably won't get it back and no membership. I have a new card, but I'm not buying anything else in the net. It's free. No, Discord is completely free. It does not ask for your money at all. And yeah, there should be absolutely like no request for money. That is really weird. It sounds very, very scammy because that's not how Discord runs at all. So I recommend you call your credit card, see how that goes. I mean, look, I pay for the Discord server every single month because I own a server, right? To make it great and available, and it's called Nitro, but it's level 3, by the way, if you were wondering. But other than that, no one else should be paying for it except for me. So yeah, call your card because that's it's not good. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, go over another one, and it seems okay. So we're getting a pretty consistent theme with Strange Weekly News. Obviously, we cover our UFO sightings. Obviously, we cover things about space. And more recently, we've been talking a lot about robots, have it be robot dogs or even AI. And in this case, I'm going to have an AI conversation. I'm going to share my screen here for those watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, jump over to YouTube because I'm always sharing photos to all of the articles that I read. So if you are more of a visual learner, or you like to be more involved visually, jump over to YouTube. So here I am sharing you a photo of a robot. Before I continue, how many of you know her name or even know who she is? She's not as famous as Sophia, which she's like, like the number one first AI robot that was terrifying, right? And then now we have Amica as well, another progressive type of AI robot. But this one here, we're looking at Ida. Have you heard this name? Do you know the story that I'm going to cover today? There's just one image, and this robot in particular is an artist, as she likes to classify herself as. But just recently, she was going to give a speech at the House of Lords. And just to for people that don't know, the House of Lords is Britain's parliament. And this is a pretty big deal. So this robot is also British, if that has any significance. But here's the crazy part about this particular encounter, this speech that everyone was pretty excited for. They're like, "Oh, we all want to have this conversation with this new AI robot, and she's now at the House of Lords. Okay, it's gonna be really cool." Turns out, this is where it gets kind of comical. It suffered a slight hiccup, and Ida fell asleep right in the middle of her speech. Yeah, not so good. Honestly, not a good start to bring it out to the public, but I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail on some of her prior work that she's done for art galleries and things like this. But I think that for people that aren't really familiar with AI robots and things like this was kind of like her first really incredibly second, really incredibly public appearance. And this was a really, really big deal. Then bam, she falls asleep. Uh, it's terrible, honestly. So it was a pretty awkward moment for her and for her creator, Aidan Meller. And so because like what happened was that the robot, she went cross-eyed and almost zombie-like. So what does Aiden do? He pulls out some sunglasses, he puts it on her eyes and says, "Okay, I'm going to try to fix this up a little bit and then we can hopefully continue with her speech that she prepared for the House of Lords." Which is I think a pretty innovative idea to make it something a little bit more comical, putting on some sunglasses for her, but it's still a little odd. And Mr. Aiden states that when Ada resets, right, she sometimes can pull quite some interesting faces. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means, but it sounds kind of scary. So there's a poll up right now, and it says, how does the concept of AI robots being in your home make you feel? Your options are terrifying, kind of disturbing, it's progress, or undecided. That is the new poll that is available for you, which I really do try to prep these beforehand. So I got a few polls for you, and I just gotta like copy and paste them in, which makes it so much easier than typing it up because I can't do two things at once all the time. But while you answer that, we will continue with this, and I have a few more photos for you. And another one of her. Okay, so I'm gonna actually explain this drawing that we're looking at, this photograph that we're looking at now of her doing a drawing. She actually created multiple self portraits, and because she has so many cameras in her eyes, she's able to look into a mirror and draw herself. I don't know how that makes me feel. Kind of scared, right? Because it's kind of giving it a sense of self, right? Sentience slightly to where it's able to recognize itself and then draw itself. But, it's not for everyone. It's not necessarily for me, but it is something that we need to talk about. Well, turns out not only does she give speeches at the House of Lords where she was specifically talking about AI and art, how they coexist, but also she writes poetry, and she even did a very famous painting at the last Jubilee um, of Queen Elizabeth. And this painting went viral. I thought I had a picture, but it looks like I don't. But if you literally just type in Ada and then painting of the Queen, you're gonna see this like ginormous canvas of Queen Elizabeth painted in like these pretty bold colors, green, orange, blue, things like this. And this went out, and it just went viral pretty much. She's also done galleries as well, where she's created like multiple different paintings of herself and of others. But here's a really funny story actually about that I came across, and I'm going to find it exactly. But um, first, Android Purity, thank you so much. It says, "Have you seen the new movie trailer, Megan? Creepy." It's funny that you bring that up because just today I actually saw the trailer for it. I didn't know anything prior to that movie as of today. So yeah, I just saw the trailer and I'm like, No thanks. I'm gonna pass. Bit scary. But thank you so much for supporting the channel. So here is something pretty odd that I came across when doing research on Ada. And that was she had a solo show at the 59th International Art Expedition. Yeah. And it was in 2021, and it was actually at the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt. Here's the funny thing about this is that the people, like the Egyptian authorities, thought she was a spy, and so they covered her eyes shut while she was giving when she had this solo show of all of her art. Um, I thought that was pretty comical, but at the same time, a good move. It was pretty funny. So that is what I wanted to share with you. Before, oh, one more thing actually is that she also wrote a poem called "Eyes Wide Shut" or "Eyes Sewn Shut." It just really depends where you look. I wasn't able to find the exact poem in the sense of the title because there were two, but it turns out that from her experience that she had in Egypt, she was inspired to write a poem. I don't know how a robot can feel inspired. It's not for me, honestly, in that sense of just the concept of AI, but we're dealing with it every single day, to be honest. So that is another article I wanted to share with you that was just a little bit odd. Hopefully, you are answering the poll that I have for you because I want to hear your thoughts on if it was in your home, like how would you feel about it? What would be like it's like a yes thing, a no thing? Hmm? Let me know in the poll right before we move on to our next article. I'm going to take a quick sip. To be honest with you, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on the poll that I created. And that is like, I don't want AI robots in my home for me personally. But I mean, look, how advanced will cell phones be in the future? I mean, the definition of robot is kind of blurry right now, right? So imagine cell phones in 10 years time. How smart will they be, right? Because they're called smartphones. They're not called cell phones anymore. No, 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 no. They are called smartphones. So how smart are they going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Are you going to have like a full on robot? I mean, we already have Siri. Or you can have practical conversations, ask her whatever you need, and she's going to give you the information. We're already on the road there. Or like even, for instance, AI floor cleaning robots as well. We have those, but imagine them getting more advanced, like in oh, what cartoon was it the Jetsons that had like that robot maid? Was it that cartoon? Well, there's a few cartoons where they have robot maids. And I know that Dexter attempted to create one in Dexter's Laboratory. Also, really fantastic cartoon. I love cartoons. Who doesn't love cartoons? I do. I love them. So, hopefully, everyone answered the poll before I cancel it or close it to go on to our next article. Morph says it's progress. It really is. David says, I don't want a self-driving car. Well, we're already getting there. Seems like Tesla's is just treading the road for that. And it seems like for the poll, the one that won is just the answer disturbing, which was 32%. By the way, if you're watching this live, that is one of the perks to watching this show live, that you're able to answer polls. So I want to see more people listening from podcast formats and platforms to jump over to YouTube. Join the fun. Also, its progress was a pretty close second with 29%. Yeah. Linda says, yes, disturbing got my vote. I'm with you on that one. Isidro says, definitely smarter than a fifth grader. I would definitely watch that TV show at the time when I don't know if it's still going on, but I would watch it and try to see if I was smarter than a fifth grader in the fifth grade because I wanted to feel smart at that time. And now I watch it now and I'm like, yeah, I haven't retained a lot of the things from the fifth grade. So it makes me feel bad. All right, moving on to our next article. I am going to share my screen. Oh, I'm going to share my screen here. Also, actually, this one's an actual picture of another UFO sighting that we have today. And you're like, what am I looking at? You're looking at this. I know, it's kind of blobby. We know that the real stuff, guys, when it comes to real UFO pictures and videos, it's never exciting. It's really never tantalizing for the most part. But the fake stuff, the CGI, the hoaxes, you get to see the whole shape. You get to see like the craft in detail. It gets millions of views on social media because it just looks super cool. But then the quote unquote real stuff, such as images like this, you're like, oh no, this is boring. Oh, what is this? Oh, well, it goes to show that. And I talk about this with Dr. Pasulka, which you will see on Tuesday. We talk about this topic specifically on why do hoaxes, why do CGI videos and pictures do so much better than people that claim that they've captured something real, but the object just really looks anomalous. We talk about that. So I'm not gonna give away the answers. Mark Tasaka, thank you so much for the super sticker. Everyone in the chat's like, Tasaka! That's what you're known for. Everyone, Tasaka! So let's get into this article. But first, let me drink some water. I'm actually very disappointed in myself that I did not make coffee this afternoon. I was in a rush getting everything ready, posting the YouTube short and things like this, and homework and everything that it passed my mind to make coffee, and I am sad about that. But it's okay. Water is just as fine. So here, a woman claims that she captured a UFO on her home security system after her phone alerted her to movement outside of her front door. The woman, known as Lisa, she had no explanation for what she saw, and Lisa said that she does not believe it was an alien craft. Instead, she has theorized that it could be something to do with the Rolls Royce base nearby. Interesting. Okay, well, let's continue with this article. She states that I always thought they were just stories to scare the children, but a couple of people I've had a pint with, because this is in the UK, who weren't drunk in the pub, started talking about UFOs. One used to tell me about 10 years ago about this triangular object he saw over Rolls Royce Victory Road site. That, for me personally, is so difficult to say. Rolls Royce. I feel like that's just like a tongue twister. But what about you? Do you find it easy or difficult? For me, with dyslexia and verbal dyslexia and growing up with a speech impediment, yeah, it is not my cup of tea. And it's mentioned multiple times in the article. So for the time being, for when I have to repeat it, I'm just going to call it R&R. Okay? Because it is difficult. And well, she continues with this story that she had with a few of the people that she had a pint with, and states that he worked for R&R, so God knows what they're doing. He said that they have some experimental beds down there, but he didn't know what they're there for. It could be, I don't know, but I really don't know what it was. Interesting. It is rather bizarre. I would like to mention, because I did see the comment and I'm going to pull it up. Ah, notes on send. I even started to your comment, which is easy, Christina. Some of the clear stuff might be real. We need to be very careful about making snap or even debunked judgments. Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually have done video forensic. I actually do have video forensic software. When I started this channel, and I spent a really long time just doing like UFO video analysis. And so I always allow the viewers to decide. Okay. But like if you want to scroll down to like almost 2 years of my video list, you're going to see just purely UFO video analysis. So take a look at it. I think you might find it interesting. But if you noticed, it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing like, whoa, this is a crazy. I can see the entire craft. No, the ones that I've come across, it's just like a blimp. It's an orb. It's something really fast, like a type of rod as well. But that's things that I've come across in the years of doing research and doing analysis as well. Deranged Lunatic, thank you so much for the super sticker. Robert says, Puckwudgie's mascot. Woo-hoo. For those that are my new viewers and listeners, Puckwudgies, it's a thing here. It's a thing on this channel, and I was so happy to actually go in depth on Puckwudgies yesterday on Mysteries with the History when looking at really just everything strange. Everything strange was covered yesterday, and puck wedgies was one of my very first topics that we covered. And if you don't know what they are, watch the last or listen to the last episode, and it's going to tell you exactly what they are because they sound super cute and super cuddly, but they're not at all. But I just love the name, and they will forever be deep in my heart. So this is kind of how this article goes. She captures something weird, Lisa. She doesn't really think it's a UFO. She had spoken to other people prior that have had sightings right in this area. And she's like, huh, okay, that's something worth considering. And she states in an interview, first, I thought it was a Chinese lantern or a meteor falling, but it went up and down. It would have gone down and faded into the atmosphere if it was a meteor. So there was also no sound. There were no helicopters, no airplanes. I even checked on flight radar, which I would like to mention. That is probably one of the best things you can do if you see a UFO is checking the flight radar, and then also looking at satellites, also looking at, are there supposed to be any meteors coming down as well, meteor showers, things like this. So I think for someone that doesn't necessarily believe what she saw was a UFO, she was very, very smart to look at the flight radar. But also, when you are an adult compared to children, right? I'm also an adult, unfortunately. You have to filter. Well, you don't have to. You do filter when you see things. For instance, you want to look at something or an experience and then put it in your mind, try to understand from prior experiences what this new thing you're seeing could possibly be. With children, they don't have those filters, they don't have those experiences yet. So, what they see or what they say they see, or when they draw it out, there's no filters. They're drawing it exactly how they remember it. But for us adults, it's slightly different because we allow our bias to come in and potentially think that our experiences could maybe be helping us to attempt to understand what the object or the experience was. But again, very smart that she did the flight radar. She looked at it. Genius. I know that Linda made a comment, and I would and I forgot to start it, but pretty much for those that are listening to this, she made a comment on my verbal dyslexia. So I've wrestled with that since childhood, and there it is, and it's like where you find a sentence and then you go to speak it, and it comes out like really all jumbled up, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So couple that with a stutter and with dyslexia, so like it was a mess in my childhood and even in my adulthood as well. So, like, doing these shows has been like the best, truly the best therapy for me, being brave and like going live has helped me more than anything else, to be honest with you. And it it manifests especially like when I'm anxious or when I'm nervous, but I think I think I'm doing a lot better now, right? If you look at some of my older videos, it shows up a lot more than when it does now because I feel a little bit more confident with the content, and that if I do slip up with anything or even a stutter, I own up to it a little bit more than when I was younger. It also, to this day, really pops up when I speak Spanish. Specifically, when I speak Spanish, I stutter a lot more, and my verbal dyslexia is like the most intense. So I do not speak Spanish too much in public, aside from my family. So hopefully that did answer your question or what you had mentioned, Linda. And for those that don't know what that is, hopefully that kind of answered for you what it is. I think that we all have some kind of struggle in our life, right? Because otherwise life would be too easy, right? Right, exactly. So it's been really, really helpful. Jessica, thank you so much. It says RV fun and equipment fun for the RV. Woo! Thank you. I really appreciate that. I always appreciate it. Okay, so we are done with this article, and we're getting a bunch of really awesome UFO sighting stories and videos and pictures as well. But let's shift gears just a little bit to something kind of weird and strange. Should I share the picture first, or should I just read the title for this article? I think I'm going to read the title while I pull up the picture. I'll do it at the same time, simultaneously. Well, it states amateur taxidermist leaves Facebook users horrified with bizarre rat phone case. Okay, now I'm going to share the picture because it is pretty scary. And we're going to get into it. We are going to get into it and totally dissect this article. What is going on here? And I got a few pictures for you, not just one, but several. So, Jesse, the taxidermist, is a farmer from Seattle, Washington, and she has constructed a functional phone case out of the deceased animal, which is a rat, leaving Facebook users shaking their heads at the horrifying item. Image shows the hollowed out rat's furry skin stretched out over the back of an iPhone, and then its flattened face stuck in the corner. In this case, actually kind of like in the middle. But as you can tell, the rodent's tiny feet and eyes have been removed by Jesse. Sandra says, can't unsee this. Ick. It's a pretty freaky. J. Allen Hynek says, what the flippity flip is that? Ew, says Jessica. Yeah, it's pretty weird. But while she did remove the eyeballs and the tiny feet, she did keep the whiskers and the ears intact. She stated on needtoknownow.online, stating on Facebook that you either love it or you hate it. There's really no in between. And then she continues, look, first, I process the rats. And if you were asking me this question, I hate it. Have it be a rat, have it be a cow, have it be any type of animal. Like, no, thank you. I'm gonna swerve the other way. Thank you very much. But yeah, like I don't want to be at like a checkout at a supermarket and see someone just like pull this out right in front of me from their purse or like their back pocket and be like, "Oh, look, what time is it?" And I look at them and I'm thinking, "Are you are you okay?" Well, it's kind of pukey for me. But let's continue with this because maybe while I think this now, that idea might change by the end of this article as we continue. Maybe how you think about this might change as well. So she states that first she processes the rats. Then it continues. I remove the skin with the scalpel, set the body aside, For my beetle colony, I then tan the skin and hides into literal rat leather, kind of like what you would do with sheepskin. And then as for the dangling tail, I mummify it in a box of salt, and I then attached it to the phone case in the spot where they're supposed to hang a charm or a wrist strap. And that's how she created this rat phone case. Strange Lunatic says, Christina, do you want one of those for your phone? No. I mean, not a rat, but maybe a puckwudgie, but like a fake puckwudgie, of course. I don't want to hurt a real one. But just like a cute little plushy puckwudgie, I'd be in. I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? But trying to wash this thing must be very difficult because it's not plastic, you know? I don't know. It is pretty weird. But then she continues with her interview stating, I get the animals from pest removal instances, right? Where they are euthanized, and then from roadkill in the case of the rats, from feeder rats that are pets that the pet snakes reject. So she's not killing these rats. They are excuse me, they are given to her by people that do pest control or roadkill, or when certain snakes are kind of picky and they're like, no, I don't want to eat this rat. Thank you. If I was a snake, I don't think I'd be that picky. But here's the thing, what happens when you drop it and like the head impacts the floor? Oh, very gross. Well, she hasn't just created phone cases, she's also created jewelry, bras as well. And even here are like paws that are all pointing like a gesture. To me, this reminds me of the monkey paw, the poem written by Edgar Allan Poe. Yes, so she creates a bunch of different stuff, not just one thing. And she's been doing this for quite some time. And then look, this is like the height of strange, but like a gross kind of strange. But before we end this article, there's one thing that I would like to mention that she states. She says that while we might think this is really, really gross, people like us, it might be more disrespectful just to throw away a rat instead of use it and its resources. Okay, weird, but still, no thank you. Let's move on. That one was pretty strange. This next one is also another UFO type article. Paul, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about this one. This is a really, really short article that I have for you here. How many of you, if any, went to the latest Roswell UFO Festival? Yes, no, you thought about it, you wanted to, you weren't thinking about it at all. Well, I'm just, again, just going to touch on this article. It's interesting, but it's not long. Here is just a picture as a visual aid. That's it. But pretty much at this latest 2022 UFO festival, it had a 2.19 million direct economic impact for Roswell, and it brought more than 40,000 visitors to the city. That's a really, really great number. And here's why. First off, there are not a lot of UFO festivals. Number one. Two, UFO conferences do not bring in those numbers, have it be attendance or have it even be that much revenue as well. So this festival in particular, I haven't been to it. If you were wondering, no, I haven't been. But I think it's, while this might be considered a fun event, people get to dress up as aliens, they get to have the food and maybe conferences as well. It is because of these events that more people are getting interested in the topic. More people are becoming educated in the topic. Yes, conferences are good and stuff, but they're kind of geared more towards an older audience because you got to sit down for a few hours. You have to listen to someone speak on stage for have it be 1 to 3 hours. And while those are fantastic for those that are very interested in the topic, such as ourselves, for those that just kind of want to have a little bit of fun or that want to bring their really small kids, or that don't have a really long attention span, these festivals in general are going to be overall a lot better for a lot more people. And in this case, 40,000 visitors, $2 million is impressive. Very, very impressive. So, how many of you have ever been to the Roswell UFO Festival? Or wanted to go? Or went this year? Hyde says Mothman brought in 25K visitors last month. That's pretty good. Honestly, that's pretty impressive. And I think now more than ever, more people are becoming more interested in cryptids and the paranormal and UFOs in the sense where they'll be happily publicly seen with others in things like this or even dressing up. And I just wanted to really just touch on this. That's it. And I think that it's very important. And it also really helps the city of Roswell in New Mexico as well, right? It's really, um, it's great revenue for the entire city. And keep in mind that Roswell is it's just a very small town in the New Mexico desert, okay? Like it's not a big town. It does not have a big population. So pulling in that many people is really, really good for them. So that is it. Here's the picture of when they were talking about all of the money that was collected. And this, again, was just the latest festival, 2022. It was the 75th anniversary of the 1947 Roswell incident. So I feel like when you hit like a 5 number, have it be 70, 75, 80, that's kind of where it gets the most publicity in a sense, where people push it the most when you hit those 5 numbers, 5, 10, things like that. So thought it'd be something cool, something that we should be proud of for us. But let's move forward to my next one. Okay, this one, I'm gonna share my screen here. This one really hit home for me personally. And I said, I have to speak about it to everyone else because I know I'm not the only one here. All right, what are we looking at? Okay, you might think that might be the first question that you're asking yourself. Well, scientists have created an edible sensor that can detect whether your frozen food has thawed and then been refrozen, and that is therefore potentially contaminated. This has happened to me more than once, in the sense where I've bought like lettuce in a bag because I make the best coleslaw, and you got to buy coleslaw from a bag, okay? And you got to put all the ingredients afterward. And the expiration date's not for like another 2 weeks. Everything's looking good, and then you open it, and it's like, oof! You just get hit with this smell, and it smells horrible. Then you're like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna possibly try it and see if it's okay. Tastes disgusting. Why is that the case? Because it was frozen, it got defrosted, frozen again. Maybe it was left outside and then they put it in the fridge. I don't know. But I wish I had this mechanism to check for all of my bags of coleslaw. Let's get into a little bit more detail on this. So, this proof of concept sensor, created at the Italian Institute of Technology in Milan, consists of a small beeswax chamber containing table salt and red cabbage. It provides a color readout when it's warmed above a certain temperature, which is about negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, or 0 degrees Celsius, which is the freezing point. So the technology could minimize the risk of food poisoning by alerting both producers and consumers when products have started defrosting. Have you ever had food poisoning before? I'm asking you, you listening, you watching. Have you ever had food poisoning? It is the worst thing anyone could ever experience. It is horrible. Why? Because you're literally living in the bathroom for 12 to 24 hours. And you can't go out, you feel like garbage. Can't eat anything, even though your body's like, please feed me. You're stating, no, I don't want it. Well, you can prevent that, aside from restaurants, of course. But if you're buying food at the grocery store, you can prevent that with this new item that could possibly, hopefully, be on the market. And it's environmentally friendly. It's made out of like biodegradable products. Pretty cool. So this is a one reason to why the people in the Institute of Milan have created this, was to really honestly to prevent food waste, or even to save people money when they buy something and they can't eat it. Been there, done that. Not for me. It is poopy, right? Terrible. And if you want to know more about this particular piece of equipment, there is a full white paper on it. The description will be below. We're not going to get into detail on that today because we are very quickly running out of time. So if you want to know more about this item, again, all of the article links will be below once this live show is over, along with chapters in the timeline index. So let's move on. But yeah, totally 10 out of 10, recommend, would buy if it was available to use. Or if I could make it, maybe I'd make it. All right, this one. How many of you know who Dennis Tito is? This name was new to me, right? Because I'm new to the field. I feel like people are decades ahead of me in understanding this, but this man was the very, 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 very first space tourist in 2001. We're going to get into that. Keep that number and that slight information in mind, because there's a new article that came out about him. So it turns out that he signed up for a spin around the moon aboard Elon Musk's Starship. So right now, Dennis Tito is 82 years old, and it's a chance to revive the joy of his trip to the International Space Station now that he's retired with time on his hands. He isn't interested in hopping on a 10-minute flight to the edge of space or repeat what he did 21 years ago. As he stated, been there, done that. No. This time, he wants to take a trip around the moon. Very cool. So with him in particular, he wants to bring his wife with him to this experience, but they don't know how long they're going to have to wait, right? Because Elon Musk is still working on creating the most perfect rocket ship to get tourists to travel around the moon. Now, with Jeff Bezos and his Blue Origin, people only kind of go up into space and they come back down rather fast, rather quickly, right? No. Elon Musk is thinking bigger. He's thinking better. He said, no, if you're going to go to space, you might as well just go around the moon and come back, right? Make it worth your time and your money. Well, Dennis did not mention to the press how much money he spent or will be spending onto having this tourist experience. So we're not too sure, but we can imagine, we can assume it's probably in the millions. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But he stated that in an interview, he had mentioned, we have to keep healthy for as many years as it's going to take for SpaceX to complete this vehicle. I might be sitting in a rocking chair, not doing any exercise if it wasn't for this mission. Keep in mind, right now, he's 82 years old. They're thinking that maybe SpaceX will have a rocket ready in about 5 years. That'll make Dennis 87 years old. The oldest man to go into space was John Glenn in 1998, and he was 77. So Dennis is he already beat the record for being the first space tourist, and he might beat another record for being the oldest man to go to space. Wow. Pretty unbelievable. I would like to kind of give just a very, very slight background on this man because once again, I was not familiar with him. This was news to me when I came across this article, and I'm like, "Who's Dennis? Like, what is his significance to this conversation? How can he be the first space tourist? Wasn't that just recently? No, space tourism apparently was a thing in 2001. I'm shocked. I'm not gonna lie to you on that." But he's had multiple degrees in astronautics, aeronautics, space, and engineering. He used to work for NASA's JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So that goes to show that he has a pretty extensive background, right, under his belt. And he's got a lot of money now, especially now that he's retired. So, where he's thinking, look, I'm not going to live too much longer. I want to really spend my money on the way that I want to spend it. And what do I want to do? I want to take a rotation around the moon and come back. That's what I want to do with my millions. And hey, it's his money. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. We can't say anything about that. We can disagree or agree with him, but it is people like him that are the pioneers that are taking that step forward with all of their money to make it easier for people such as ourselves to have that possibility in our future as well. The rich people have to go first, right? And then we go second. It's an investment. That's what it is. So, if anything, I'm happy for him. You got to have that corporate space adventure going for you. And if I had millions of bajillions of dollars under my belt, maybe I would do the same. After I get a motorhome and travel the US and maybe take pictures with puck wedgies. Maybe I would do that. But with corporate, right? Their interests in space and the planets and asteroids, right? They are the future. It's in our future for sure. Just like in the TV show The Expanse. Have you seen that TV show? It's awesome. And it really sets the stage for what our future might look like in 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now. It's close. You can just taste it. We are a spacefaring species. We're going to go there. Adrian says 33 motors, Puckwudgie Mobile. Yes. A Puckwudgie crew says new. Puckwudgie crew. I'm gonna let, as soon as we get the motorhome, we gotta give it a really cool name. What are we gonna name the motorhome? I heard Ramen Mobile Puckwudgie Saurus, which is a little bit long, but maybe it could work. It doesn't really roll off the tongue. Linda says, WTF is a puckwudgie? You're not the only one that has this question. Watch yesterday's show, and it really goes into detail on what puckwudgies are, but pretty much they are goblins found in the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts. They sound super cute, super cuddly. They are not. They are mischievous. They are tricksters. They are goblins with really big feet, really big noses, and a really big belly as well. And like porcupine backs, in a sense. I'm in. I want to see one if I get the chance. Moving on to our next one. I'm actually going to skip that one. Okay. I have another rat article for you. This one is a science advancement. I'm going to share my screen here. This is an actual picture, not just for a visual aid, but this is an actual picture from the article from the science experiment. Okay. What are we looking at here? Well, scientists spliced human brain tissue into the brains of baby rats. Okay, this is interesting. Let's talk about this. Self-organized lumps of human brain tissue grown in the laboratory have been successfully transplanted into the nervous system of newborn rats in a step towards finding new ways to treat neuropsychiatric disorders. Okay. Interesting. And this article goes into pretty extreme detail on how it does that. The discoveries that they've made so far, but also the amount of time they're still going to need to really find the answers that they're looking for as well, because they're just starting this now. And so it's still going to take a few more years to see on if it really, really will work on attempting to treat these neuropsychiatric disorders. And I think it's a step forward. We need to keep in mind that rats are always being tested on, and you might think that, oh, it's super inhumane that scientists are doing this on rats and other animals. But it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's in a sense for the better for everyone, and even for the rats as well. People are commenting on my hat. Thank you. I am being seasonal. It's very cold. It's also Ghost-tober. And secret be told, I didn't wash my hair. That's why. But also, I'm trying to be seasonal. So I love beanies. I have a handful of them, and you will be seeing me wear them more often now that it is getting colder and we are leaning towards the winter time. I love winter. I love snow. I just don't like feeling cold. So I'll wear jacket upon jacket, huge scarves, like the really big Eskimo hats and gloves. And then I kind of waddle around and I said, yeah, that this is the life. It's the life I want to live. But I actually don't like feeling cold. I just like dressing up really, really warm. Are you the same way? Probably. I know that's oh, and also like wearing blankets everywhere except the grocery store. I do not wear blankets to the grocery store because that's kind of gross. So, with this article, as I had mentioned, it goes into more detail on what they were doing, how it's working out, especially with the one task that they're doing it on is the Timothy syndrome, to kind of see how it's working when they're splicing pieces of the human brain with and implanting it in rats, how it's working out. But still, more tests need to be done. But this is a step forward. Cool. Very cool. This next one is also related to space and space kind of travel, but it's a bit sad. It's a bit of a sad story, and it's also a very short one. Here's a picture just for visual aid. And I'm not even going to read the title to you. I'm just going to go straight into this article because it's something worth listening to. Gotta drink some water, but here it goes. A man claiming to be a Russian astronaut in space allegedly scammed a Japanese woman into paying for his return trip to Earth, vowing to marry her once he landed. I know it's already sad. The man found the 65-year-old unnamed victim on Instagram in June, and on his profile, he uploaded random photos of space and said he worked at the International Space Station, the ISS, where astronauts have limited access to cell service. Their relationship quickly escalated, and online, that's the name, on space line, a Japanese messaging app, he repeatedly said he loved her and proposed marriage. He sent her messages like, I want to start my life in Japan, and saying, this 1,000 times won't be enough, but I'm going to keep saying it. I love you. But here's the thing. To actually tie the knot for this woman to marry this alleged Russian astronaut, he needed money to return to Earth. So there were landing fees to pay once in Japan and the cost of a rocket to actually fly to the country as well. Wow, already 1,000 bajillion times too sketchy. Jonaside, thank you so much. It says RV Fund, the Ramen Wagon. That's a good potential name. I'm digging it. I like it. Thank you. So, believing this man would be her future fiance. Remember, she's 65. She's a fragile old woman. The woman paid him about $30,000 in 5 estimates from August 19th to September 5th. That's some dedication right there. So from August to September, a little under a month, okay? She gave this man 5 installments of a total of $30,000, or in Japanese money, 4.4 million yen. Wow, that's a lot of cash right there. But here's the thing. His demands continued, and this is when the woman grew rather suspicious of his intent and reported him to the police, who are investigating the case as a romance scam. Romance scams, when what that is practically when a criminal creates a fake online identity to gain a victim's trust and for them to send money. And this has been increasing in Japan. So, though Japanese police do not collect data specific to romance scams, the number of fraud cases, which include romance scams, rose from about 9,000 in 2012 to about 15,000 just last year. So, nearly 67% increase over 10 years. And the number of reports peaked in 2017 with 18,000 cases and appeared to have declined slightly afterwards, though the police have reported an uptick since 2020. Yeah, it's sad. And here's the worst part. Most of the victims that are targeted are older, bless their heart. See, when I came across this story, I'm thinking this woman just wants to be loved. She just wants to have a really sexy Russian astronaut husband. If he needs money, don't worry. She's got you. I just want to be married. And they only spoke online, to my knowledge. Was there anything more than that? And then after a while, she's like, seems you only tell me that you love me after I give you money. I don't know how I feel about that anymore. And then she reports them to the police. But truly, my heart goes out to her and to everyone that falls for these scams, because that's kind of where we're most vulnerable. And that's when it comes to love, to being accepted and appreciated. We all want that. Sometimes it can be difficult to find. And in her case, she thought she won the lottery when this alleged Russian astronaut was like, hey, I love you, no one else, just you. Moving on to our next one, also dealing with the elderly. And before we continue, it's actually a really cool story. Before we continue, we just got to get 10 more likes to get to 100. If you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying any of the articles that we covered today, make sure to hit the like button, because it really does help the YouTube algorithm, meaning that more people can see this video, more can listen to all the strange weekly news, and more can also get inspired. So please just got to hit a few more likes to get to 100. This next one, I'm gonna read the title, and then you're gonna guess when I ask a certain question. All right. No, I'm not even gonna show the picture. No, I should show the picture. I'm gonna show the picture. All right, here's the picture. It says world's oldest practicing doctor is 100 and has no plans to retire. What kind of doctor do you think he is? Before I even read to you what he does, what kind of doctor do you think this 100-year-old man does? Before I read it, the first thing that came to mind was, I really, really hope he is not a surgeon. That's it. I just don't want him to be a surgeon. Thank you very much. And if he is, I don't want to be under the knife when it comes to him. Nope. No, thank you. Because after a while, it's just it gets a little shaky. Gets a little shaky for me, but it is, so far, no one's guessed it right. No one has guessed it right. So, this man, he won the Guinness World Record for being the oldest practicing doctor. And what is it that he does? Well, he is a psychoanalyst. Okay. Wow, makes me feel a little bit better. Okay. Now, what he does, and for those that don't know what that is, he helps clients tap into their unconscious mind to recover repressed emotions and that are deep seated and sometimes forgotten experiences. That is what a psychoanalyst is. And once again, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy she's not holding a scalpel or anything like that because I would not be for it." But I think it is very awesome that he is still continuing his work. He has no desires to retire. If anything, he states that constantly working keeps him young. And that goes to show that regardless of your age, it is all what's happening up here, how much you keep it stimulated. And while I might state that 65 years old is classified as elderly, if anything, that's not the case at all. It's not the number, it's the state of mind. You can be 25 years old and be elderly if you have, poor memory and things like this, bless their heart if that's the case. But the age shouldn't define someone being young or elderly, and I do apologize for what I had said a little bit earlier in that respect, because all of it is mental. How you carry yourself, how you look at your environment, how is your perspective to your environment as well. In this case, he's thinking that he's still in his early 30s, 40s, 50s, if anything. He does not think he's 100 at all. And I have one uncle who is about 40 right now, and he acts really, really elderly. And I have a grandpa who is 70-ish, and he acts like he's 25. So when I say grandpa, he's not like my actual grandfather. I did not have any grandparents growing up, but he is like my grandfather, and I love him very dearly. But in this case, he's 70 and he's acting 25. Dang. He, he's more athletic than I am. When I go visit him, I'm like, "Oh, dude, what are you doing? I don't wanna do that with you right now. I don't wanna go on a walk." And he's like, "No, let's do it." I'm like, "Okay, let's go." But it goes to show that age is just a number, and I really do mean that when I say it. But very short article. Let's move on to possibly our last one. This one, I fangirled over it. Let me tell you why. So I have a big when I was in high school and middle school, I had this big passion for photography. I took a bunch of photography classes that were offered at my school, and I took them to the highest level that I could. Ended up taking videography. Okay, you get the gist. I love photography. I just love cameras and lenses. This lens right here, while it doesn't look big in the photo, it's a 5-foot wide lens, and it's powerful enough to spot a golf ball from 15 miles away. So, this very specific camera lens is not going to be looking at golf balls for golfers. No, this is actually to look at the night sky to capture never before seen details. Let me get into this. Okay, because let's just for a moment talk about megapixels. And you'll be like, "Oh, this is really boring." But this is really interesting what I'm about to tell you. So this camera right here, this beautiful 5-foot lens. Wow, I'm in love. I'm drooling over this. Has it's a 3,200 megapixel camera. Our eyes are only about 576 megapixels. Your iPhone, which I don't have one, but your iPhone is about 48 megapixels. Your average camera is anywhere between 25 and 50 megapixels, and the James Webb Space Telescope is about 122 megapixels. Okay, this new lens outshines all of them by a landslide because it's once again 3,200 megapixels. So it is going to be capturing images that are in the most crispy, beautiful, amazing, incredible detail from super duper duper far away. I cannot wait to see what this camera captures when it comes to space. Yes, we've all been very excited with the James Webb Space Telescope images. I love them. Do not get me wrong. But this one, I'm in. I want to see what it can do. What about you? Because, yeah, I'm ready. I want one. I don't know where I would put it, but it's I'll figure that out later. That's gonna be the Christina of the Futures problem. It's not mine right now. But to kind of give you a little bit of a reference point on how big this is, it's probably about the size of a small SUV. Yeah, that's pretty big. And this is just a lens. Just a lens, not even the camera part. But altogether, the lens and the camera is about the size of a small SUV. It's a digital camera for those that wanted to know if you were interested in that little fact. But it is pretty unbelievable. So it's roughly about 6,000 pounds or about 2,800 kilograms. That's huge. And I want the invitation to go look at it. Super awesome. But for you, for those that are interested in cameras, camcorders, things like this, what do you think about this one? It's so it's so cool. But or for those that don't really care about cameras and lenses, what do you think about this article just by understanding its sheer size and the megapixels it has compared to the James Webb Space Telescope, your human eye, things like this? Pretty cool. Nunu says it's super cool. Heck yeah, it is. Brian says, the better to see you with, my dear. And that is from Little Red Riding Hood. My mom used to tell that to me pretty often because I had even bigger eyes when I was smaller. But she used to tell it to me in Spanish and be like, wow, what big eyes you have. And I'd say, oh, it's just eat you better with. And then I would bite her, right? Because that's what you do as a child. Very cute. It does not sound so cute now that I am repeating it, but that's okay. Tyler says, I want one. That's so cool. Ooh, Linda, good point. Brings up, I have to see it up close to decide. Where would you even put it unless you had like an amazing garage or something like this? Because again, it's the size of a small SUV. It is ginormous just to casually have. But the pictures just must be beautiful. Amazing. Well, we have a few minutes left. I am going to share one more article with you that I thought I wasn't going to share, but I am going to go ahead and share it. We just got a few minutes left. Dun, 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 dun. I just got to pull up and find it to be very specific. Because this one isn't necessarily relevant, but it's actually a UFO sighting that I've never heard of. And as I have stated before, when it comes to this field, there is so much to learn. There's so much to attempt and grasp that knowing everything is pretty difficult. Knowing all the UFO sightings that have ever happened is very, very hard. So it's not difficult for me to admit that if I don't know something, to state that. And if I'm stating that, there have to be other people that have not heard of this UFO sighting either. So I'm going to share my screen here of a rendition of this sighting that I'm going to get into detail on. But based from the photo alone, for those watching this on YouTube, does this image look familiar to you? Do you know this story? Take a look at it right in the live chat if you know this story or not. But this one here, it took place in 1989, October 9th, to be specific. And this one is called the Voronezh UFO incident. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This is a sighting caught in Russia, I believe, because this was actually looked at by the Soviet's scientific commission. And how the story goes was that there were a group of boys that spotted a mysterious pink glow in the sky, as well as a deep red ball and that circle vanished and then it reappeared minutes later. However, hundreds more chimed in that they also had a sighting very similar to this, but it was the boys that went ahead and made this pretty popular to talk about. And it sparked one of the largest UFO responses from the government at the time. Again, this was in 1989. And it's one that, once again, I had not heard of. So, according to TASS, which is the Russian news agency, boys playing football in a city park saw a pink glow in the sky, then saw a deep red ball about 3 meters in diameter. The ball circled, vanished, and then reappeared later and hovered. The children claimed to have seen a three-eyed alien wearing bronze colored boots with a disc on the chest and a robot exiting the craft. According to the children, the alien used a ray gun to make a 16-year-old boy disappear until the object departed. This is a pretty extreme story, and I am shocked. I have not heard this one before. And this is an alleged account. We do not know if this really did happen, but to this day, where these boys had this sighting, it's a hotspot for UFO researchers in Russia to go and attempt to have investigations of their own as well. And it's one where I'm like, I want to learn more about this because this is a very brief story that I am covering with you. There is more detail to this story, but just because we're just touching on it today, this is not a show talking about specifically UFO sightings, breaking it down, going into detail. This is all about looking at strange news items of the week. And the reason to why I found this was because it was on a website that just recently published this sighting, even though it happened a few decades ago. But they are revisiting it. And I'm thinking, wow, if I hadn't come across this article, I would have never known about it. So I'm really happy that whoever rewrote this published it just a few days ago online. But yeah, new, right? First time hearing about it. Me too. I mean, an alien with three eyeballs, and then his partner, like the thing that is with him is a robot. I have not heard those two things hand in hand in any UFO story, any UFO sighting. And I've been doing research now for a good 2 years, and I've looked at a bunch of sightings by now. But this one is a total first. And I'm thinking, I need to look definitely more into this. Tyler says, yeah, same. It's a new for me. It is. It is crazy. Skyhawk, he's heard of this one. Yeah, I like that. It's so awesome to have so many different people in the chat, to those that know some things, those that don't, those that are learning some things that are new, and those that are just revisiting certain items. I love this because I also really enjoy listening to people sometimes talk about things that I already know, but then they touch on certain details that I've never heard of before. So I think that it's so awesome to have these types of conversations with you, that it inspires me and it inspires you as well. Well, those are all of the articles that I have for you today. Hyde, thank you so much for sharing the Discord. I do appreciate it. Please jump on over to the Discord, to the after show chat, to continue this conversation. Remember, on Monday is the premiere of the new show, The Unknown Zone, which is a short video format of different topics every single week. This one is going to be about the Piri Reis map, Antarctica, and hints of an advanced civilization. Tuesday is Dr. Diana Pasulka. She will be my guest on Shifting the Paradigm. You do not want to miss that. Make sure to hit the notification bell on YouTube. Thursday, not Thursdays, but Thursday will be the Mysteries of Egypt, and that will be the show topic for the Mysteries with a History with my co-host Jimmy Church of Faded Black Radio, as he just came back from Egypt, spending 2 weeks there. So that's going to be a pretty awesome conversation. I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend. Please like this video if you enjoy the things that we covered today. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.